Thank you very much. And hello, everyone. Let me first start with a very quick question, which is, how many of you know or have explored your DNA? Can you please raise your hands, if any of you? I see a few hands there. Maybe 1-2% of the whole room, which is kind of the penetration that genetic testing has in Europe today. In the United States, it's around 20%, driven mostly by wanting them to know a little bit more about ancestry. What we do at ADNTRO, we are really a software company. So what we create is we generate insights from the genetic code. Let me explain and very summarize what we do. Our core business is really creating insights. So we take from your DNA, in this case it's non-invasive, from your saliva, because all the cells in your body contain the very unique code that makes you you. And we develop genetic algorithms to actually generate insights from your genetic code, because it's like a huge book, but you need to really learn how to read it in order to make sense of it, to bring personalized recommendations. So what type of insights do we bring? Well, we have a full spectrum, and this slide actually should be bigger on the clinical side, because this is where we start and where we do most of our work. But we have, from recreative genetics like ancestry, you know very well, some of the big companies like 23andMe and so on, they give you information about your origins, but also innovative and fun studies in aging. We've created the first DNA game based in history. We've developed genetic bonsai, so we've done a lot of things in the recreative space, but of course, well-being, nutrigenomics is quite an area. What food intolerances do you have? What type of food you should eat? Fitness, what type of muscle fibers do you have? So you have good muscle fibers to be a marathon, to run a marathon, or to be a sprinter. This is coded in our genetic code. It's quite different, the type of muscle fibers that you have. Behavioral genetics, which is quite an area that is going to boom in the next few years. It's very interesting, this discussion between nature and nurture, and it's strikingly interesting how much our genetics influence our behavior. And of course, health and pharma, so pharmacogenetics, what type of drugs you should use, what type of dosage, or if it's going to have adverse effects. And in health, your predisposition towards disease or your protection towards disease. So that is kind of in what we call the direct-to-consumer realm. And of course, we work in clinical, mostly in oncology, filtering variants and using our software to diagnose and treat better. The truth is that genetics plays a bigger role than what we think. This is a slide with too many numbers, but the big point here is that we tend to underestimate the impact of genetics in most things, like, for example, our weight. And we tend to overestimate it in the case, for example, of some cancers, where the environment plays a big role. Like, for example, lung cancer. If you're a smoker, you will have 20 to 40 times more chance of developing lung cancer than if you are not a smoker. This is a slide taken from Robert Plomin. He is the guy in behavioral genetics. I highly encourage you to check him in YouTube and learn more about how this behavioral genetic field is going to boom in the next few years. So in ADNTRO, we basically do three things. So research, we have access to the UK Biobank. This is more than 500,000 samples with their clinical records, their DNA, and this is where we test our algorithms. Second, we decided to share this with the world. So as 98% of this room are genetic virgins, you've never explored your DNA, you don't know what your DNA says about you. We have a home kit, so you can buy it, spit into a tube, and get this information sequenced and get your DNA sequenced. But for those who have raised your hand, you should be able to download your DNA and upload it into ADNTRO. And in 15 minutes, you get all this information. And of course, we do a lot of work in the B2B and in the clinical realm. So I have 16 seconds left. Just to finish, I wanted to show some of the things that we're doing in R&D. So we're working with the Hospital La Paz in an algorithm for the prediction of cardiovascular diseases, with Group Recoletas, which is hospitals in Spain on artificial intelligence applied for neck and head cancer. And we are doing our own research in Alzheimer with amazing results so far. We want to publish them, so this is not something that you will have to take my word to believe it. We will publish. And this is a very important thing because it's the way to give back to science all that we've been able to leverage. So thank you very much, and I wanted to finish just by encouraging you to explore your DNA. It's a beautiful and unique journey. Thank you.